guys, Chase here with Omnia Fishing, and we're coming back with another Omnia report. This time we've got a special guest right in-house in our studio today. We're joined with Mr. Matt Pangrac from Bass Talk Live. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, Matt.
Yeah, anytime you get a chance to stop by the Omnia headquarters, I always like to. It's cool to come in the front door and you kind of have that little storefront deal there. But then you get back into the warehouse, and you're like, man, anytime I order anything, this is right where it gets picked from. Big giant warehouse where everything that you can get at Omnia is back there. Kind of, I guess they're in bucket shelves, little coordinated things. But no, I love this part of the country. Bins. That's the key word. But I love this part of the country. Was up here for one of my buddy Adam Bartuzek. Some of you guys might know him from the Crappie Chronicles. Had his bachelor party, and then on the way back, stopped to fish Leech for a day to pre-practice for the upcoming Bassmaster Open. And then this was right along the way. So
just to give you guys an idea of how much this guy gets around. A couple weeks ago, he was all the way down in Mexico, dragged his boat across the border, fished the Pan American, what was it, the Outdoor?
Sport Fishing Championships. It's like one of those long acronym names. They just call them the Pan Am Games.
Representing Team USA. And now he's all the way up and barely throw a rock at the Canadian border.
Yeah, and I fit a frog hunt in Arkansas in there, too. You ever frog hunted?
I have.
Dude, it needs to be on your bucket list.
With a gig and everything?
No, like mainly with the hands. Like we did it for the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame with Steve Bowman. Him and his college buddy back in the day learned how to do it. So you get on the front of a flat bottom, like Titanic style, except laying down, and then idle right in on them with a big bright spotlight. Just grab them. We got 29 of them.
Are you scared of snakes or anything like that?
I was more the gators had me a little bit nervous. We didn't see a single snake, but he said that there were no snakes because the gators were so aggressive that they ate all the snakes.
Oh, my God.
Like you pan out as like west Arkansas. You pan out and see like all the eyes of the gators. It was really cool.
Well, that sounds like an experience.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to swing by the shop. We really appreciate that. So why we dragged you in here today, we wanted to kind of talk about a little bit about the area where you're from, Oklahoma, Tulsa in particular, and just kind of get a feel for what's going on down there. We got a Bassmaster Elite coming up down there pretty soon, I think.
Yep, Lake 10 Killer. That's
this week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming up for sure. It'll be very interesting. Got some high muddy water there, just like you do across a lot of the state.
Yeah. But that's that's largemouth country down there, isn't it?
It is. 10 Killer is one of the few that has a really good population of all three species. You can catch a few smallmouth out of. Eufaula, Texoma has a good population of smallmouth, but for the most part, you think Oklahoma, you think largemouth.
Largemouth. So I'm just going to go ahead and filter the largemouth here real quick so we can get onto the species we're after here. But in general, you were talking about high water, muddy water right now down there. So shallow baits, flipping baits, stuff like that, chatter baits. We got the D-bombs, maybe some shallow cranking mixed in with that kind of stuff.
It's Oklahoma's had one of the wettest springs in history. It's been a long time since we've had water this high, kind of flood conditions through all of it. I think last time I checked, Grand was at 751. And kind of the old standard there is anytime it's at Jumbo Jet, which is 747 or higher, that's like get up there and start flipping. And then when they start pulling water from the Elk and the Neo show down through the dam on the bottom, it really kind of sections the lake off in mud based on how much they pull. You know, the more they pull, the faster that muddy water comes down. So you can see there on the Omnia Pro app that Grand is pretty dirty right now.
It sure does look dirty, especially when you get up towards the top of the lake.
Yeah, that's definitely where the two rivers come in. But this is really good chatterbait water on rock. Not a lot of grass in Oklahoma. Actually, like no grass in Grand at all. But you can tell based on that muddy water, that black and blue chatterbait. If you're going to be covering water and fishing for shad kind of imitators, those fish that are on shad like that. But the other thing that's really good right now also is flipping willow trees and flipping bushes that are in the water. You can kind of use the bottom hardness feature and look around and find out. So there's tons and tons of willow trees and tons of bushes in Grand right here. You can see her at the mouth of Horse Creek And that island has literally thousands of willow trees and bushes all around. There's been a lot of fish caught off that island over the years, but there's little portions of it, little sections of it. Back in the old day, I mean, even before my time, the guys I've been on the boat and they've told me about it, you know, to find the right willows, the right bushes, you stick your rod tip in the water and move it around, and you'd want to feel gravel, you'd want to feel hard bottom. I've just used my power poles where you drop the poles, and if you're hearing crunching or stuff like that, you know it's a hard bottom. But you can also tell that kind of hard bottom usually extends up on the bank there, so you can look at the bottom hardness to find the little sections, and you can look at the aerial map to find that, and that kind of at least gives you a starting point, clues you in on where you want to flip those bushes, flip those willow trees. It's something Jason Christie's made really kind of world famous on Grand Lake. Guys have been doing it for decades and decades, but a creature bait, I like a lot of the guys, a lot of the local guys will throw and I'm not like a Grand Lake expert by any means, but I fish occasionally, but just a green pumpkin brush hog, full-size brush hog. There's a lot of crap. And, you know, if you look at a willow tree up on the bank or a bush up on the bank, like there's a lot of limbs, a lot of stuff going on there. So that kind of 6-inch profile gives the fish something to find. Dip the tail chartreuse to imitate a green sunfish, a warmouth, a hybrid sunfish, something like that. 1/2 ounce flipping weight, so you can kind of get it back down through those little bit of limbs, and then just 25-pound test fluorocarbon string and crack them as hard as you can. It's one of the most fun bites that you can. And Keystone, Fort Gibson, Grand, Eufaula, you're gonna see some flipping going on 10 killer in the Elite Series tournament. There's a lot of lakes in Oklahoma that are really fun when the water gets up. If you know kind of how to break it down and find it. It's a lot like the grass fishing up here in Minnesota. Like if you have no idea what you're doing and you get on a lake and start fishing, it can be very intimidating, but you can take some of these tools, some of these clues and break it down. It makes it a lot more manageable and gives you a starting point. And then, you know, if you want to get offshore, you can always structure scope, which Grand and those lakes are famous for. A 1/2 ounce football jig is always really good there. I see that on the recommended baits from the on the Omnia Pro app too. But yeah, like right there, that's a Jewel Baits, which is an Ozark staple. The 3/4 ounce with just a rage craw or some sort of craw trailer on the back. It doesn't matter, clean, dirty water. You can always drag that around brush piles and catch a fish or two. Yeah,
no, it sounds very similar to grass fishing up here. You're always trying to find that difference in the grass.
Yeah, it's a spot on the spot.
The spot on the spot, exactly. Yeah, so football jigs, we got some punching baits, some flipping baits. You had mentioned scoping. I'm kind of surprised to not see many scoping baits out here right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now that part of the country, those lakes, there's definitely scoping that goes on. A lot of that scoping is more fall, wintertime stuff. We have like what I would call dirty lakes, to where we have big gizzard shad, carp, drum, buffalo, a heck of a lot of the freshwater drum on there that kind of react like bass. 3 or 4 different types of gar, all sorts. So you've got a big crappie. Big crappie will be identified as bass all the time. So it's not like you're just going out and if you just, hey, there's a fish, it's a bass. You can go out on Grain, you can go out on Eufaula, you can go out on Fort Gibson and these lakes, and you can cast at stuff all day, every day, for as long as you want. And the majority of them are going to be bass. 10 killer is a little different. 10 killers, typically, usually a lot cleaner. You have the smallmouth, you have the spots. That's a really good kind of suspended fish scoping lake. But the others, the rough fish or the channel cat, I didn't even mention that. Oh my gosh, the blue cat and the channel cat are the worst. Like, we didn't even know that blue cat were that aggressive, but you can go out and catch 20, 30 a day now, and they'll be like suspended under bait balls and come up and eat through it. So it's really hard to just go out and scope on some of these lakes, particularly early summer. These fish are getting offshore. There's a lot of, I don't want to use the word trash, but there's a lot of dirty, a lot of other fish that are non-bass that kind of protect the bass from getting scoped.
And that's not so much the case on 10 killer then? So you might see a little more scoping when it comes to the elites getting down there?
Yeah, so they're going to be scoping piles. It'll be very interesting to see how the high water and muddy water on 10 killer play. I would expect to see a lot of spinner baits, a lot of flipping, and then some guys that are still offshore. But that's typically a clear bayfish-driven lake. But with this water up with with so much flow in it, with so much color in the water, that could definitely change. you could see guys up. You could see guys up flipping telephone poles and picnic tables and catching them. And I say that like in all seriousness, like with the natural lakes probably don't fluctuate much up here.
We don't. We get very little fluctuation.
But based on kind of how the chain is, there's some lakes that they can let water in to keep other areas from getting flooded and stuff. But like, I mean, you legit like if you think of like a picnic table on a park bench, what does that have? It typically has grass around it, and then it's got a picnic table. So you've got the 4 legs, it's got the shade on top of it, and then it's on a cement block. So it's like a custom made brush pile with a hard spot for fish on that. So we always joke about picnic tables and grocery carts.
Fish are just waiting to.
I mean, you could see someone catch one off a picnic table.
That's awesome. I didn't even think about that, but that does make the perfect.
Oh, it's ideal.
Hard bottom and everything.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. You mentioned you were up north Minnesota for a bachelor party.
Yeah, it was a fishing bachelor party. Like legit, we caught crawfish, went golfing, and then bass fished during the day and walleye fished at night. It was like just like 2.5 days of outdoor fun.
That's awesome. Northern Minnesota is such a unique and cool place.
Yeah, there's nowhere else like it on Earth. The only comparison to me would be kind of like a little bit of that Western New York around the Thousand Islands area, that, where you get kind of that crisp in the air, but you also have there's way more fisheries in northern Minnesota. Like they should have a nickname for this state, like 10,000 lakes, or so there's at least 10,000 here.
Wouldn't that be a great nickname?
It'd be a good nickname. You should go with it.
Should put it on our license.
But yeah, it's every 5 minutes you go past somewhere where you want to drop your boat in and go fish. Like I'm not exaggerating. I'd be like, ooh, that looks good. That one looks good. That one looks good. Then you pass a lake and be like, oh, I've heard about that lake. And then 3 more lakes you've never heard of. And it's definitely a special part of the country.
Well, we got a new feature on our sites and our app that kind of helps us pick which of these lakes we're actually going to put our boat in. Because, again, you can go drive down the road and you got 30 different lakes. And so how do you decide which one? So we actually included all of the DNR survey results. Our DNR goes out, surveys the lakes, and then records the data from their survey results and makes that information public. So we were able to get this information, upload it into our server, our platform. So, yeah, we've got these purple pins, we've got the red pins, we've got blue pins. These purple pins are going to indicate lakes that have lunker potential. So, again, our Minnesota DNR went out and surveyed all of these lakes, collected the data, and then made this data public so we could get it. And we'll take a look at this one. Right now, it'll pull up largemouth bass right away, because that's the most popular fish. That's what we get the most reports on. That's going to be your first. But if you click into see all species, this will give you all the DNR indications.
Okay, so they're saying like pike fishing has some potential there.
So this lake is a pike lake. It's going to have lunker potential for pike.
Oh, I think I saw yellow perch as well.
Yeah, we got yellow perch in that one. And then we can actually even filter this. So if you're up there, I don't really care about pike. Their teeth.
You want to catch a big smallie.
I want to go after smallies.
Oh, there's one up there.
So there's one up there.
Basswood Lake. That's my place.
That's your place.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed.
So what this is telling you is that the DNR surveyed a smallmouth bass that was over 20 inches.
Okay.
And we do have indications for the other fish. I think pike and muskies are 36 inches and over. Walleye are 28 inches and over.
Yeah, so when you dump your boat there, you know you're not on a stunted lake that has a bunch of 13 inches in it. You're wondering why you don't catch them. You're at least going to a place that you know you have the potential to catch a big one.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
So when you're in an area like this where there's lakes galore, this helps you kind of pinpoint which lakes you want to look at. Very
cool feature.
Yeah. But another fun thing that happened, and why I really kind of wanted to get into this area, there's a tournament series here in Minnesota called the Classic Bass Champions Tour. And you may have heard they just had a tournament up here on Lake Vermilion, which is one of the premier lakes in Minnesota. And it's a catch, weigh, release format tournament where every fish counts. Every fish over 1 pound counts to the angler's total weight for that day. And the weights on this were just astounding. I think you might have even heard some of the rumors.
Yeah, I think the guy who won averaged a 2.25 pounder every 3.5 minutes for 8 hours.
For 8 hours.
Yeah, it was wild. It was like 280 pounds of fish. Like I was just Sam Sobey fished that tournament, and he said after like the first period or something, he said he had been catching them, and his marshal was like, "You're in 43rd place," and he's like, "What?" He was like 100 pounds behind.
I know, and it sounded like it was kind of like the perfect storm.
Yeah.
When these anglers got up there, they all said there was kind of pre-spawn conditions. There were some fish that had moved in, some fish that were spawning, but not all of them yet. And they had a couple warm days during practice, and they said tournament day, all of a sudden, it seemed like every fish in the lake went to the bank.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the temperature map there is really cool. You can see like specific spawning areas and where it is. If you zoom back out, though, something that's cool, like, on those little ponds and things, like look how much warmer the ponds are and the backwaters are.
Yeah.
Like on that, like here. It just identifies high percentage spawning areas, just, especially early in the year based on where those fish are or based on where they'll be done if you're trying to find late spawners too.
Exactly. The water temperature feature it was a key player in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can almost see that break line where those pre-spawners were sitting, and then they probably just migrated right back in there as soon as that.
Yeah, I mean, they had to be piled because you literally that's like a fish every cast for 8 hours.
And again, these guys, it's an 8-hour tournament. They split the lake into halves, so I think they actually kind of this little section right here, I think, is where they split it. And so they had to run from down here all the way up into here to fish that first half. That's a 25-minute boat ride just to get there.
That's like a fish every 3 minutes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's, 45 minutes out of their 8-hour day that they couldn't even be casting. And they still caught that. So, I mean, it was just insanity. I think 30th place still had like 100 pounds. But one thing that caught my eye, growing up, I've always been told, fish the northern side of the lakes. Fish the northern bays in the spring. The northern bays warm quickest. The northern bays. But if I look at the map here, it almost looks like the southern shorelines have more orange and more red to them than the northern shorelines.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I think, especially this time of the year, we're still having cold nights and on a shallower fishery, especially where, you're going to have fish that are spawning, so like in a shallow bay and stuff. I think wind can also impact water temperature before the whole system gets situated for the summertime bite.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to look at the kind of wind effects for the last week on that fishery and see what the wind has been like, if that's kind of caused some of the water temperatures. Because I know you were telling me before, kind of a really wacky spring up here in Minnesota.
I don't ever remember a spring like this. We've had 90-degree days, followed by 45-degree days, followed by 80-degree days. I mean, you're just trying to find any consistency.
Was that a lightning feature on that, to where you can see?
We do.
Okay.
We've got storm cells and lightning features.
Heck, I use Omnia Pro all the time, and I have not used the lightning feature. Is that like kind of real-time lightning, so I can pull up that app and see like if I'm in danger?
That's exactly what it is.
I like that.
So I'm trying to find some cells here.
The one time that there's no...
there we go.
Yeah, the one time that there's nothing going on in the United States.
Always something going on.
Oh, my gosh. That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, so that's real time. Those are real lightning strike indications. So
yeah, so like if I'm fishing whatever that lake is right there...
something's probably coming.
Yeah, Richland Chambers. I'm thinking about putting it on the ramp right now.
And you add the storm cell layer to that, and you can kind of, it gives you an indication of where these storms are headed.
Yeah.
So that's headed right there.
Very cool link.
I'm going to the lamp.
Going to the ramp. Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't mess around with lightning.
No. Nope. I'll mess around with a lot of stuff.
The pattern is boat on the ramp in lightning.
But yeah. So, I mean, those are just some of the great features that Omnia Pro offers you. Again, with the hard bottom, with water temperatures. We've had a few guys calling indicating that they've been using this for especially spring tournaments. It's such a huge player.
The thing that I also like is you can go in and look at recommended baits, what people have put in on Omnia. It's really accurate. Like that, to me, there's a potential for that to kind of be a crapshoot. And I go in and look at it and I'm like, yeah, everything that's there, that's what I would throw. A whopper plopper, jig, a beaver, a black and blue chatterbait, all this stuff for Oklahoma. I was telling you before, trick where like all that stuff is applicable and relevant, which is also really nice if you're going on a fishing trip anywhere in the part of the country. You can start with your basis, and the Omnia Pro offers you the mapping to kind of give you the starting spot. But one of the things that I really liked about Omnia when BTL signed with them was it wasn't just a, hey, buy the tackle. I liked the interactive aspect of it. I liked the interaction with the Omnia staff in the Omnia Pro app and things like that. So that's one of the cool things that I like about that app and that feature is regardless of whether you're a tournament angler who is going to compete at a high level or you're a weekend angler who just wants a starting spot and some baits that you know will get bit, that's kind of the beauty of the Omnia Pro.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's really where we try to set ourselves apart aside from everybody else. We don't want to just give you the what, we want to give you the why. Like, we want to help you to develop your own patterns so that you can go out and catch your own fish.
Now, I will say the 7-inch Nessie for white bass may be a tad ambitious, but when it comes for the largemouth, all that stuff is spot on.
Yeah, that one might be a little. That was a big white bass. I promise you that.
That may or may not have been a hybrid.
We might want to check the report on that one so we can get it. Yeah, that's looking hybridish.
Yeah. Yep, that's a hybrid.
That's a hybrid.
Which Grant has a ton of them. This last winter I went out and I didn't know. I guess they stock them cyclically every couple of years. So they only live like 5 or 6, little hybrid info to close the show out. So they only live like 5 to 7 years.
Really?
And then they die because they don't reproduce because they're hybrids. So went out this winter and there's like a really good year class of 4 or 5 year old fish that are all 6 to 8 pounds. And when they come through, it is just like a herd of like a flock of locusts. It's unbelievable. Like they just roll through that part of the creek and it's just and then you can actually follow them and stuff. It's probably not great for the bass population, but by God, it's fun to catch them.
No, that's something we don't really have up here. We do have white bass. We got white bass. But we don't have the stripers or the hybrids.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool to get in on some of those someday. Well, thanks for joining us today, Matt. We really appreciate you swinging in. I know you're border to border these days, running all over the place. So we really appreciate you swinging in, spending some time with us, and chatting about some lakes.
Thanks for having me on. Like I said, always a good stop, a good breakup of the drive to stop by Omnia just outside of the Twin Cities here in Minnesota. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely.